It's quite obvious, Michael, that the way you, when you are a designer and view materials, it's like other properties you look for than when a scientist, when you look at the same material with the scientist's eye.
I'm schizophrenic.
You're sort of schizophrenic. But then the same question to you then. What's the hardest step in the value chain?
Yeah, I mean, the toughest thing is to find the producer, the company that makes the commitment to, I mean, I can always...
The investment, the risk.
We can always find someone and make the prototypes. We can take it, we can show it to the market, but it's not worth anything. Because, I mean, the first time we went to Milan, people said, we want this. We love this material, we need it. And of course, we could make the diaper pulp, if we could make it hydrophobic, it would work even when it's raining. I forgot to say that, I realize. But it's worthless if there is not a company that can say, we will deliver the material. And when it comes to the chair, when they came to us to ask if we could do it, we went to Södra and said, do you take this challenge? Do you promise that if it's a success, you will market the pulp? And they said, yes, but that's the tough part.
That's the tough part. Thank you. Anders, do you have a...
Not right now.
No? Then I would like to... Yeah, please, just a second. The host for the workshop sessions, one or two of them, would you like to just... Henrik or... Yeah, you were also a host. Michael and Peter. Would you like to give us a short feedback of what happened around your tables? Because there were so intense discussions. Just to give a short feedback.
No, yes, I got stuck on what Mikael said now, but if we have the toolbox, we need the challenge. Because at the table, you really understood that there was a lot of toolbox out there in packaging. Someone stated there that virtually all of the material today comes from aluminium or from metal or from plastic or whatever it is, could be replaced by cellulose-based material. All the different barriers that are in the package can be replaced by material derived from cellulose. So the toolbox is there. So the challenges. So I suppose that if the big companies that are dealing with packaging are really going to say that from 10 years from now we are not going to ask for anything else but for biologically derived materials, they will get them. And that was the impression I got from the table and discussion we had, that the things are out there, we can realize them, but you need a demand. And then there's the question, is it a pull or is it a push? Is it a push from the getting away from the oil, or is it a pull to get into the sugar economy? And I think that the opinion and the attitude that it's out there, people love this approach to things. And so
even if
that's
it's
a great pull.
more expensive than the oil-based ones? I mean,
that was an interesting point, because it came out really close that this is not going to be more there might be a higher price on it, but the final calculation will be the same because the cost will be lower. There's a big difference between price and cost.
Gustav Notander, where are you? Yes, your question was, will you buy it? Remember? Did you get any answers from, you're far back now, but please come forward. Yeah, please come down. I like that question. Will we buy it? At the end, it's the consumer who has the power here to change something, yes?
Yeah, I think what the conclusion we came to was, well, pretty much expected that if it's a high enough value for the customer, then yeah, sure, people will buy it, regardless of the source, if it's out of research in academia or if it's something else. I think one thing we touched upon, though, is that to take this first step that Mikael was talking about now, you have something that might be in the lab or a prototype, but to take it to the first commercial realization, or that first step, you seem to need a much higher marginal value than you would for a product that is a little bit more developed. So for someone to take the risk, that was sort of what the discussion was about in our group.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Should we, anybody wants to comment that from Lars or anybody?
Well, my experience is a little bit more optimistic that if you look at the really big giant companies, there are some of them who have one group who look with technologies for their business today. Some of them looking for technologies for business in coming to market about 5 years. And then they have groups looking for 20, 30 years ahead. And they conduct seminars in remote areas and in high population areas to take this challenge. And I have seen a change of that people want to go in early and are prepared to invest early in the game.
That's nice. I was thinking also of addressing the government here. Helene Ågren, I mean, there you are. What's the role for politicians and policymakers here?
Well, one interesting point that came up was do not prevent development and sort of endorse structural adjustment and do not support the old technologies and old business structures, which has been a very recent debate in the economic crisis that we have just or are experiencing. Another thing is to who has access and who can afford this type of knowledge and to keep track of research and so on. So one role could be to finance or in other ways support knowledge and information and to make it accessible and affordable to more and to smaller companies and so on. And then a third point is to not only talk as politicians about the problems, but also to communicate positive visions for the future and what we can actually do to create a sustainable and bio-inspired society. For example, we had a European meeting with energy and environment ministers this summer in Sweden, in the European Union, and we had a guest there, Lord Nicholas Stern, London School of Economics, and he also talked about this issue and talked less about burden sharing in terms of the climate change negotiations, for example, but look into what is the future. There are a lot of opportunities, and this actually is about a cleaner, safer, more biodiverse, a quieter society if we endorse new technologies and low carbon, eco-efficient, bio-inspired society.
Thank you, Helen. Michael?
There is something the government can do in some way, or politicians. In our latest project in materials development, we have included Fortum and Ragn-Sells, which are the ultimate end users. And they have the big problem of, we are creating new materials. How should they handle them in the waste? Because there's a lot of regulation that will make it very hard for the introduction of new materials, although they are better in many ways.
That was a very good example.
So we have a very, I mean, laws, you create laws very often with a good set in your mind, but then, I mean, development goes faster and you're blocking development with the
Need to
laws.
be a bit quicker there.
Yeah.
Great. Okay.